Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimakung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you Chapter 5, Section 3 of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
As.
Ah.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Author Conan Doyle. Chapter 5, Section 3. I foresee. One of the most remarkable to which I have ever listened. Let me have the date of the reception by your uncle of the letter. The letter arrived on March 10, 1883. His death was 7 weeks later. Thank you. When my father took over the Horsham property. At my request, made a careful examination of the attic, which had been always locked up. We found the brass box there, although its contents had been destroyed. On the inside of the cover was a paper label with the initials of K. Repeated upon it, and letters, memoranda, receipts, and a register written beneath. These, we presume, indicated the nature of the papers which had been destroyed by Colonel Openshaw. For the rest, a notebook spurring upon my uncle's life in America. Duty well, and had borne the repute of a brave soldier. Others were of a date during the reconstruction of the southern states, and were mostly concerned with politics, being sent down from the north. Well, it was the beginning of '84 when my father came to live at Horsham, and all went as well as possible with us until the January of '85. Cry of surprise as we sat together at the breakfast table. There he was, the outstretched palm, the other one. He had always laughed at what he called my cock and bull story about the Colonel himself. Why, what on earth does this mean? John? He stammered. My heart had turned to lead. It is K. K, said I. He looked inside the envelope. So it is, he cried. Here are the very letters. Put the papers on the sundial, I read, peeping over his shoulder. What papers? What sundial? He asked. The sundial in the garden. There is no other, said I. Though, said he, groping hard at his courage. We are in a civilized land here, and we can have tomfoolery of this kind. From Dundee, I answered, glancing at the postmark. Some preposterous practical joke, said he. What have I to do with sundials and papers? I should certainly speak to the police, I said, and be laughed at for my pains. No, I forbid you. It was in vain to argue with him, for he was a very obstinate man. I went about, however, with a heart which was full of forebodings, to visit an old friend of his, Major Freebody, who was in command of one of the forts upon Portsdown Hill. I was glad that he should go from home. In that, however, I was in error. Upon the second day of his absence, I received a telegram from the Major, imploring me to come at once. My father had fallen over one of the deep chalk pits which abound in the neighbourhood, and was lying senseless, with a shattered skull. I hurried to him, but he passed away without having ever recovered his consciousness. He had, as it appears, been returning from Farham in the twilight, and as the country was unknown to him, and the chalk pit unfenced, carefully as I examined every fact connected with his death, I was unable to find anything which could suggest the idea of murder. There were no signs of violence, no footmarks, no robbery, no record of strangers having been seen upon the roads. And yet I need not tell you that my mind was far from at ease, and that I was certain that some foul plot had been woven round him. In this sinister way I came into my inheritance. You will ask me why I did not dispose of it. I answer, incident in my uncle's life, and that the danger would be as pressing in one house as in another. It was in January 85 that my poor father met his end, and 2 years and 8 months have elapsed since then. During that time I have lived happily at Horsham, and I had begun to hope that this curse had passed away from the family, and that it had ended with the last generation. I had begun to take comfort too soon. However, the young man took from his waistcoat a crumpled envelope, and turning to the table he scowled upon it 5 little dried orange peps. This is the envelope, he continued. The postmark is London Eastern Division. Within are the very words which were upon my father's last message. Te. What have you done? Asked Holmes. To tell the truth, sank his face into his thin white hands, so he felt helpless. I seemed to be in the grasp of some resistless, inexorable evil. Dead, cried Sherlock Holmes. You must act, or you are lost. Nothing but energy can save you. But they listened to my story with a smile. Practical jokes, and that the deaths of my relations were really accidents, as the jury stated. Holmes shook his clenched hands in the air. Incredible imbecility, he cried. They have, however, to be continued.